Hello, welcome once again to We Would See Jesus. As always, we appreciate you tuning in, especially all of you who subscribe to this channel. Today's subject is false prophets. This is going to be the first part of a two-part series. Today, we're going to examine what the scriptures say about false prophets. And in our next session, we will examine what the scriptures say about the false prophet, who's going to make his appearance at the end of time. And we're going to start with in the book of Matthew, Jesus speaking, "For false Christs and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect." So the elect, they are the chosen ones of God. Now, you've met casual Christians and you've met good Christians, but the elect would be the most devout Christians. And he says that if possible, these false prophets might even deceive the elect. So this is why we all need to stay on our toes. And if we do, we can identify false teachers and ministers and prophets. So what is a prophet? So first off, a prophet is a person who foretells future events. And that would be whether for an individual, a group of people, a country, nation, or even the entire world. But additionally, a prophet can also foretell, meaning the prophet can reveal something about a person that nobody knows about that person. And not every person who speaks prophetic words is a prophet, though, because every spirit-filled Christian has within them the spirit of prophecy. So it is possible for just a normal Christian to speak prophetically because they have within them the spirit of prophecy. However, a prophet who has the position of a prophet has a specific gift from God, and they prophesy regularly and accurately. So how do we identify a false prophet? We're going to go to the book of Deuteronomy in the Old Testament, and this is God speaking. "But the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name which I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other gods, that prophet shall die. And if you say in your heart, how shall we know the word which the Lord has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if that thing does not happen or come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. You shall not be afraid of him." So kind of two kinds of prophets here. You have on the one hand, people who speak presumptuously. They prophesy in the name of the Lord, but it doesn't occur. And if it doesn't occur, God's basically saying, just ignore that person because that person has not spoken of me. And they would be reprimanded, but their lives would be spared. And many times there are devoutly religious people who simply desire to prophesy. They desire it so much, they speak presumptuously. And although they attempt to prophesy in the name of the Lord, I would call it being overzealous, overzealous. On the other hand, there are evil people who use fake prophecy to trick and to deceive people. Wicked prophets would be put to death in the Old Testament. If the prophet does not have the Spirit of God and the prophecy did not come from God, they always, eventually, miss the mark. And of these kinds of prophets, Jesus said this, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves." They are wolves in sheep's clothing. In other words, they look like sheep, they act like sheep, but inwardly they are evil. And they will cause, at the very least, disruption in the congregation. But I have seen false prophets even destroy a congregation. And this is why we need God's Holy Spirit to be able to spot wolves in sheep's clothing. Some churches have gone so far as to forbid prophecy in their membership because of the presence of false prophets. This is absolutely wrong. Prophecy has always been an integral part of the Holy Scriptures, all the way back from Enoch, the grandfather of Noah, to Samuel, to King David. Yes, the same King David that slew Goliath. To the major prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, and to the lesser-known prophets. In fact, the final 12 books of the Old Testament were written by those prophets. The final 16 books in the Old Testament were all written by prophets. And then we can go on into the New Testament. John, the beloved disciple, was one of the strongest prophets ever. He wrote the book of Revelations, which many of the prophecies in Revelations still have not been fulfilled because they are for the people who live in the last time, the last days. But the Apostle Paul, although an apostle, he was also a prophet, and many others. 1 Corinthians says this, 2 Corinthians, sorry. For such are false prophets, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into apostles of Christ, and no wonder. For Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also transform themselves into ministers of righteousness, whose end will be according to their works. So Satan masquerades as an angel of light, or as a friend, or as a teacher, a minister, or a prophet. Satan doesn't come with horns and a spiked tail and a pitchfork, because we would never trust that person. He comes as an angel of light, or as a friend, or a confidant. And it is no wonder that Satan's messengers also come as ministers, or as spiritual teachers, or even prophets. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, just because there are hypocrites and evil ministers and evil teachers. Don't give up on Christianity because of that. Jesus, he told us that this was going to happen. And then in the book of 1 John, John, the beloved disciple, wrote, Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is of God. And every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have already heard was coming and is now already in the world. So test the spirits, whether they are of God. Don't believe every person who claims to be a prophet. And for that matter, people who claim to be godly teachers, ministers, evangelists, or any other good and wholesome position. Test the spirits, whether they be of our most holy God. That's what we have for you today. God bless you all, and we'll see you next time.